Okay, welcome to CIS-210, Principles of Computer Programming 1. My name is Professor Lusby, and I'm excited to have you all here. I wanted to create an introduction video here, kind of outlining and going over some of the important things that we need to do and some of the resources that the classroom provides. Okay, so with that said, I'm just going to sequentially go through some of these things in the classroom. Please watch this video in its entirety. We are going to talk about the virtual desktop and how to access it. That is going to be a very important component of this class, but I need to get through some of these other modules before we get there. Okay, so first things first, we have a module here called How to Be Successful. Please take a look at that. I'm not going to read this to you, but there are a lot of really good high-level hints/suggestions that'll make you successful in this course. So definitely take a look at that. This news and announcements module, yeah, I'm going to be posting for sure weekly, maybe even daily. I think you're supposed to receive an email anytime I post here, but just in case that doesn't happen, please make sure you take a look at this whenever you log into the classroom to see if there's any new announcements. Okay, that is definitely important. And right now, I don't until week 0, the preview week starts. You're probably not going to see anything in there, but definitely very important that you look at that every time you log in. Would be my suggestion. Okay, we do have a course syllabus here. And as with any university class, this is a very important part because it outlines what exactly we're going to be doing and how we're going to be doing it, right? I have my contact information here on the introduction page of the course syllabus. But I think what most students ask about is this, the course schedule and what exactly it is that we're going to be doing each week. Because if you look in the classroom, each week isn't enabled until the beginning of that week. So if you want to kind of get a preview, you can always look here inside the syllabus under course schedule. You also see the due dates here in I think this last column here. Also lets you know what chapter of the book we're going to be looking at here. So maybe you can read ahead if you have some spare time. That's always a good idea because there's lots of technical information in this textbook. Okay, and let me see, does it outline the actual textbook here? Materials, yes. And for sure you want to get this textbook as soon as possible. This is the 5th edition of Java Illuminated. It is important that you get the 5th edition. Okay, it has changed slightly since the 4th edition. And yeah, all right. So this is the course syllabus. Please make sure you're familiar with, well, order the textbook for sure. And as far as this is concerned, the JDK and the TextPad, I'm going to show you in a second how to access the virtual desktop that has all of this already installed for you. You don't need to do any local installation on your personal machine. Unless you want to, unless you've got a background in programming and you've set up a development environment before, feel free. If you have not, I would strongly recommend just using the virtual desktop, which is what I'm going to show you here in just a few minutes. Okay, so that is the course syllabus. Grading rubric, let's see, when is this mentioned here? I think basically, yeah, this is concerning the discussions and how the discussions are graded. High level, bottom of the day, you need one main post that is at least 150 words due by Wednesday, your initial post with at least 150 words due by Wednesday on that particular discussion topic. And yeah, of course, it needs to be clearly addressing the main topic. So that's the initial post. And then you need 2 additional posts to either your peers or maybe for sure I'm going to be posting additional discussion posts where we talk about information from the book and maybe some other things that are relevant to that particular chapter. So either respond to your peers or my posts for those 2 posts that are needed here. Those 2 posts need to be done by Sunday at midnight, and they need to be done on 2 different days. Okay, so make sure you just don't log in and participate on Wednesday and then be done. Make sure it's on at least 2 different days. And yeah, for sure, spelling, capitalization, grammar, all of that matters, right? And if you cite outside material, even from the textbook, you need to do so. If you cite it directly, which I don't have a problem with, as long as you cite it correctly using APA style, meaning you cite the reference, your APA reference at the bottom of your post, and you need to do an APA in-text citation at the end of the sentence where the information came from. Okay, and that does 2 things. Number 1, it protects you from plagiarism. There are 0 issues as long as you use APA style. Number 2, it gives your post credibility, right? You're actually pulling in outside information, showing how your thought process is similar to others, and kind of verifying the information that you're presenting. So for sure, don't be afraid to cite directly other resources. Just make sure you do so using APA style for full credit. All right. Okay, so that is, this grading rubric is basically for the discussion boards because each of the assignments has a different grading rubric. What else we got here? GMC Student Handbook. I assume most of you are familiar with this by now since this is a 200 level course. Please take a look at that. There is a course chat room here. Just be very careful. I don't mind discussions going on between you and your fellow peers. That's fine. But I don't want to see any solutions of code being posted. I need to know that everyone can come up with the solution pretty much on their own. Okay? And if you're struggling, well, that's why I'm here. I want you to email me directly. Okay? I would say email here, jlesby@gmc.edu, and I'll provide some feedback that should help get you over the next hump. And worst case scenario, we can set up like a Zoom meeting if we need to do that as well. So this course chat room is fine, but just don't get too down into the weeds and start. You can post code if it's not a part of one of your assignments or a solution to any of your assessments. You're fine. If you want to post code and cite it where it came from and why you think it's cool or why you think it might be relevant, as long as it's not a direct solution, I am happy. All right. Here, if you are struggling a little bit, there is this link here to, well, they misspelled smart, but Smart Thinking. I guess smartthinking.com was taken, but whatever. It is a real link. It is free, and I have had quite a few students that have had success with them. So don't be afraid to use this online help here. All right. GMC Global Online College Student Resources. Please take a look at this if you're new to maybe the online environment. Maybe all of your classes before were in the classroom. So this should give you some guidance as far as some good practices in the global online school. All right. And of course, if you need to refresh your memory on APA style, here's a great URL. Make sure you use APA, not MLA, and make sure that it is 7th edition. All right. So enough about all of that. Let's get to the important stuff. This guy, virtual desktop. All right. Luckily, GMC has created a virtual desktop that already has everything installed that you need for this class. All right, it has the IDE, it has the JDK, and if you're new to programming, if you've never set up a development environment before, it can be a pain, and it can take several days, and it can be frustrating. a lot of students, if they've never done that before, kind of freak out. So we took that all away, and we didn't take it away. It's always an option. Just be forewarned that it could take several days to get your IDE up and running locally. I say 100%, if you've never done it before, just use the virtual desktop. All right. And here are links. Notice that they're a little bit different, right, for each type of computer or operating system, right? If you have a Windows PC, all right, you're going to use this link, and it's going to describe how you access this virtual desktop on a Windows PC, right? If you have a Chromebook, it's going to explain it using a Chromebook. If you have a MacBook, so definitely check out the instructions here as far as how to get into the virtual desktop. All right, it basically is providing your username, which is your GMC username at the beginning of your email, right before that @ symbol. Okay, that is the username. Make sure you put the word student in front of that. Student, what is that, a backslash? Yeah. Student backslash, and then whatever your username is at the beginning of your email. And then the password is the same password for your GMC email address. All right, and once you do that, you're going to click on this SRDS guy. All right, and once you click on this SRDS guy, you should see a screen that looks like this. All right, this is the virtual desktop in your web browser. That's the beautiful part of this. So even Chromebook users have access to this. And yeah, it's running Windows on a server. It's a very powerful concept. And the good news is that we've already installed the IDEs that you need. All right. There are several popular IDEs for Java, but one of the popular IDEs is something called NetBeans. All right. And the textbook utilizes something called JavaFX for the framework that we're going to be using. And NetBeans 8.2 works well with JavaFX. So this is what we're going to be using, is this IDE here. And what I like to do here is demonstrate real quick, just to get your feet wet, right? What does Java programming look like? Like, what are we going to be doing every week? And we're going to see that for sure. We're going to launch the virtual desktop for all of our assignments. We're going to come in here. We're going to open up NetBeans. All right, so we're going to double click on NetBeans, and your wallpaper to your virtual desktop might look a little bit different than this, but either way, for sure, you're going to see a NetBeans 8.2 icon, and this is what you want to use. Please do not use this one. Okay, this is a newer version of NetBeans. It has not been set up for JavaFX. This one has. All right, so always use this guy right here. Okay, NetBeans 8.2. Now, what does this NetBeans thing look like? All right, very typical IDE, even for pick a language, Python, whatever, C++. And on the left-hand side, you have a projects window that lists your projects with your files. At the top right here, you're going to have an editor window where you actually edit the code itself. And in the bottom right, you have basically an output window that shows you what your program produces if it's a console app, right? If it's a GUI, then it's going to pop up with whatever your GUI or graphical user interface looks like. So this is what NetBeans looks like. Well, how can we use it to produce a Java application? All right. And again, we're going to work on this during week 1 as well, but I want to kind of give you a feel for what Java programming entails. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do anytime we create a Java program is we're going to come up here and we're going to go File, New Project. All right, File, New Project. And what we want to select here, the type of project is Java, Java Application. Make sure that Java and Java Application is highlighted here. And we're going to go ahead and click on Next. All right, and again, this is just me kind of doing a quick hello world application so you get a feel for what that's like. All right. Project name, I'm going to call it Hello World because I'm not very original. Okay. Of course, it already exists, probably for the last class. All right. Hello World V2. All right. And here, okay, this is important. The project location. Please do not change this. Okay. This is a folder located on the virtual desktop that you have read and write privileges to. If you change it to another folder, maybe your local computer, the virtual desktop gets confused, the IDE gets confused, and you're going to see all sorts of weird errors. So please, please, please leave this as is for your project location, and I'll show you where this is on the virtual desktop here in a second. All right, but please don't change this. The other thing we want to do is make sure this is unchecked. We do not need this option here. Okay. And here, all right, create main class. We do want to create the main class. All right. And it is good practice to create a package for your classes, but when you're new to programming, a lot of students find these packages confusing. So at this point, I'm going to delete that first part, which is the package name, and let's just call the main class Hello World V2, same as the project name. All right. And then we're going to click on Finish, right? So make sure this is checked. Make sure we're creating the main class. Click on Finish here. It'll create the project for us. All right, and this is key, okay? With any advanced language, even C++, when you're using an IDE, you have to create the project first. You can't just open up a Java file and start typing and say run. You can't just open up a C++ file and type and start running. You have to set up a project. All right. So make sure that you set up your project first, and then notice what it did for us. It actually created the Java file for us. Why? Because we checked that little checkbox that said create main class. All right. And when we go through this class, and again, I don't expect any of this to make sense yet, right? Because the class hasn't even started. But this is anything that's grayed out is what's called comments, and the computer completely ignores these comments. All this grayed out code here is just for humans, so that when we go back and we review our program later on, we can look inside the comments and kind of remember what it was that we're doing. But none of this is code. This is just called comments. All right. So these comments we can get rid of. Do we need to? No. You can leave them there if you like them. But what I'm trying to do here is show you the bare bones of what a Java application looks like. So the bare bones is that for sure you have to declare the class name. And you also have to tell the compiler whether it's private or public. And again, we'll get into that later on as far as what public or private means. But the key here is that we've given it a class name, and that this class name matches whatever this Java file name is. Okay, Hello World V2, Hello World V2. That is enforced by the compiler. Anytime you write a Java application, the class name has to match the file name. All right. The second thing is that the way the computer knows where to begin is it looks for this function called main. All right. Every program starts with main. All right. And so that's why you see it create this public static void main guy for us. And we can't get creative. For a Java program, main needs to have this function definition. It needs to look exactly like this. Public static void main, and in string args is what's called a parameter, and we'll talk about that later as well. All right. But inside of the main function, and when I say inside, you're going to see that we're going to use these curly brackets a lot in Java. This is an open curly bracket. This is a closed curly bracket. And notice that when we click on these brackets, it highlights where the matching open and closed one is. And that's very important. You can't just have an open one and not a closed one. The compiler gets very confused and mad at you. All right, so you always have to have, for every open curly bracket, a closed curly bracket. And anything in between those curly brackets, right, is part of this main method. All right. Notice here, even the class has an open curly bracket. Notice its closed curly bracket is down here. So what that's saying is, hey, this main method belongs to this class called Hello World v2. All right. So always, whenever you're creating these curly brackets, don't just type an open one. I would say go ahead and type the open one and the closed one so that you don't forget, right? You don't forget to add that closed curly bracket because that'll get you every time. All right. Okay. Once we're here, right, we've got our class called Hello World v2. We've got our method called main. Inside of main, what we could do is use some of these Java libraries to do things like print line, which basically means print to a line of whatever to the console. All right, this is not a 1. This is an L. All right, a lot of students see this and they put a 1 and hey, it's not working. Why? Well, you used a 1 there. Use a lowercase l. So notice how picky, right, compilers are. Computers are. If you're off by one letter, oh, I don't want to use lowercase t, I want to use an uppercase T. It's not going to like you at all. Every character has to be exact, which is why when you first start programming, having access to good examples is a must. Let's just put it that way, is a must. And if you look in your textbook, you'll see a bunch of really good examples. And I would say when you're first starting, just start typing those examples in, right? Into NetBeans, into the IDE, and then run it and see what happens, all right? That's one of the best ways to start learning. And then, of course, this class, and we'll get into the details of what each line of code means. But don't be afraid to get into this NetBeans IDE and start to create a project and maybe even type in the code from the book or maybe make your own code here. All right. All right. And here's the thing, print line, all right, print line will print a string or a number or whatever it is that you want. And if it's a string, we're going to be using these quotation marks. All right. And again, we'll get into that more in week 1, but this is basically the simplest program there is. All right. This is a Java application with main that should print out when we run this, right? Hello world, my name is whatever. Insert your name there. All right. So once I don't see any red marks here, I don't see any red underlines, everything looks good. What I'm going to go ahead and do is push this run button here. All right. And we should see, hello world, my name is Professor Lusby. So it ran the program, and here's the output of the program. All right. Side note, when you complete your programming assignment, in order for me to give partial credit, when you hit run, it does need to run, and it needs to do something. If you have a syntax error in your code, let's say you turn this in. That's always weird. I'm not sure why it allows that. Let's say you turn this on. All right. Wow, the compiler is actually getting to be, let's say you try to turn this on. All right, this does not compile. This has a syntax error. It has it's even marked here for us. And if we try to run this, run anyway, this is what happens. It blows up. It goes kaboom. Why? Because it has no idea what print line is with a capital P. All right, so for sure, you need to find these syntax errors before you submit the assignment. I cannot give partial credit for code that does not compile and run. It needs to compile and run. And compiling is only half the battle. We're going to see later on that we're going to create conditional statements and loops, and we may need to run the program several times and test the program with several different values to make sure that it really does what it's supposed to do. Just because a code compiles doesn't mean, right, there's something called bugs. It can still have bugs in it. meaning at runtime, you think it's going to do this, and it actually does something completely different. All right, so for sure we need to get good at syntax. For sure we need to get good at getting this code to compile, and that is the first hurdle for most in an intro to computer programming class. So that's why I say look at those examples in the books, try to type them in and get them to run in the IDE, because that's going to become super duper important. The next stage, once we get to the second half of the class, is okay, let's start using some more powerful programming constructs like if statements, else statements, loops, and let's learn how to debug them once we get past these syntax issues. All right, so this is how you can do a Hello World app in NetBeans using the virtual desktop, and even in later on, we'll get into the details of what each weekly assignment needs. All right, so why do I bring this up? Because underneath of your virtual desktop section of the classroom here, to be completed prior to the start of week 1. All right, so basically during week 0, and this is a little misleading because the introductions discussion forum, if you complete it during, look, just try to complete these things as soon as possible. For sure by the end of week 1, both of these things needs to be done. All right, and this virtual desktop activity here, what that is, if you can, when you launch the virtual desktop here, and even for your assignments, you're going to see that you need to take a screenshot of what it is that your compiler is doing, right? Not of the code, but of the code running. So, the easiest way to take a screenshot is inside of the virtual desktop. All right, click on this little magnifying glass guy here and type in the word snip. All right, go ahead and launch this snipping tool. All right, click on mode. I say, yeah, let's just do a full screen snip. All right, and notice as soon as I said full screen snip, it just did it for me. And here it is inside of it's called snipping tool. All right, once we have this virtual desktop screenshot, we can say File, Save As, and call it, yeah, sure, Virtual Desktop Verification. Pick where you want to put it. Desktop is fine. Maybe you're a little more organized and you want to put it into a folder inside of the virtual desktop. That's fine. But either way, save it as a file. All right, go ahead and click on Save. Yes. And once you click it, save it as a file, then you can close the snipping tool. And where is it? Here, under your virtual desktop verification, just say Add Submission, and select your file, and hit Save Changes. All right. That brings me to the next point. I just forgot. Your screenshot is on the virtual desktop. All of your assignments are going to be done on the virtual desktop. Your files are in the virtual desktop. So when you go to turn in files for this course, please log in to the classroom, okay, inside of Chrome, inside of the virtual desktop. All right. You want to submit everything inside of Chrome, inside of the virtual desktop. And if you're having trouble getting to the classroom inside the virtual desktop, just type in this web address here, gmc.mrooms3.net. I have had a few students report that they couldn't get here using the virtual desktop. But as long as you type this in directly into Chrome, in the virtual desktop, you can get there, and then click on Login here, right, and go ahead and log in, and then submit, right, your screenshot here or wherever it may be through the classroom in the virtual desktop. All right, and we're going to be doing that for all of our assignments because everything is going to be inside of the virtual desktop. All right, so it is a good idea to go ahead and log into the classroom here using this URL, clicking on login, and then submitting your assessment here inside of the virtual desktop. All right. What else? What else? What else? Introduction discussion forum. Yes, please. Please introduce yourself here. That helps to get all of us to get to know each other more. And here, these are two very important things, but I'll get into this during week 1. I don't want to overload you with too much. Right now, I just want to make sure that you can access the virtual desktop. Hopefully, you can create a simple application. If not, don't worry. Just take a screenshot of the virtual desktop. Yeah, that's really what's important in week 0, is that you get comfortable with the virtual desktop. You get comfortable with NetBeans, right, 8.2. You get comfortable with the snipping tool, and you're able to take a screenshot on the virtual desktop. You get comfortable submitting something through, through the classroom in the virtual desktop. All right. Everything else above here is, information about the class itself. All right. So that's basically, at least during week 0, introduction week, everything that I really wanted to present. If you have any additional questions, please always email me directly. That goes straight to my phone. I will respond within 24 hours, and let me know how I can help. Okay? So have a great week, and let me know if you need anything.